this project, we're going to use the marquee selection tools, namely the rectangle and the elliptical marquee tools, to make some selections and then make some adjustments within those selections to take this image that's available on pexels.com, photo by Hustedde. So we'll take this image and with those selections and adjustments, turn it into this image. Let's get started. I've downloaded the image from pexels.com and opened it into Photoshop. And my image is 1280 by 746. And I want to find the center. So I'm going to go to the View menu, come down to Guides, say a new guide, and I'm going to do a vertical guide at 640 pixels. Since it's 1280, that's half of 1280. There's my vertical guide. I'm going to do the same thing for a horizontal guide. So Guides, New Guide. This time I want a horizontal guide, and half of 746 should be 373. So there's my center. Now I'm going to go back to the View menu, go to Guides, and I'm going to say I want to lock these guides. So I can't accidentally move them. I can't grab the Move tool and move those guides. Okay, I'm going to take the elliptical marquee tool that's underneath the rectangular marquee tool. I'm going to come to the center of the image. I'm going to hold down the Alt key so I drag from the center out. And I'm going to create an ellipse that's about 840 wide. I'm looking at that little marker down here in the lower right. So I'm about 840 wide, somewhere close to that, and 530 in height. And it can be off a couple pixels if you like. So there's 844 by 530. I let go of my mouse, and there I have the marching ants of the elliptical marquee. I'm going to go to the Layer menu and choose New Layer via Copy. And see, I created a new layer in the Layers palette with just that information that was in the elliptical marquee. And so I can turn my background layer off, and you'll see I just have the elliptical area left. Now I'm going to go back to that background layer. I'm going to duplicate that layer. So I'm going to drag it down here to the little plus sign so I have a copy of it. I'm going to turn the original background off. I no longer need it, but it's there for safekeeping. So I have my original file as that bottom layer. Now what I'm going to do is take the rectangular marquee tool, and I'm going to create a selection in this upper left-hand quadrant. And then on the options bar, I'm going to click this second option to add to the selection. I'm going to come back down to the center point and create a selection of the lower right-hand quadrant. So you'll see two groups of marching ants. I have this area selected up here and this area selected here. I'm going to go to the Image menu and choose Adjustments, Hue Saturation. I'm going to click the Colorize box, and I want a red hue. And notice how these two quadrants are red. Now I'm seeing the original ellipse area on top of that, and if I were to hide that, I can't get it with this box is open. I'll show you in a second here. I'm going to click OK. So I'm going to apply this adjustment just to my selection. Let's hide that layer 1, and you can see that we've changed the hue and colorized those two quadrants. Now I can do this, I can select the other two quadrants, but here's another little trick. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to go Select Menu and choose Inverse. So now I'm selecting what wasn't selected, and that's going to be these two quadrants. And here, I'm going to go back to the Image menu, Adjustments, Hue and Saturation. I'm going to colorize, but this time I'm going to take a blue color. I'll go about maybe 220. I'm going to click OK. And now I can deselect with Control D or Command D on the Mac. There are 4 quadrants that are colorized. I'm going to go back to layer 1 and turn it back on and make that the active layer. I'm going to go to the Edit menu adjustments, and I'm going to go to black and white. So we're just going to make this elliptical area just a grayscale image like we did with the bear in the previous unit. And you can play around with the sliders here, what you think is going to look best. I'm going to bring my reds up a little bit. And when you get the grayscale image that you want, you can press OK. Now if we control click on that layer or command click on the Mac, we'll select the contents of that layer. And that'll bring me back to my marching ants here. So now I've got this area selected. I'm going to go to the Edit menu, go to Stroke, and I want a color of white for my stroke. And I'll do a width of 3 pixels. I'm going to have this be on the center and click OK. Just makes that grayscale area stand out a little bit from our colorized quadrants. And again, if you do a Control D, that will deselect. By the way, Control H, I'm going to undo that deselect. You can do a Control H to hide the ants. They're still there, they're hidden. And I can do a Control H to turn that back, toggle that back on. Control D turns the selection off. You can also go to the select menu and choose deselect. I'm going to go to the view menu and clear my guides. And there then is our final image with the quadrants colorized and the ellipse in the center that's grayscale, all made from selections with the marquee tools. If you'd like to see more videos in the Photoshop Practicum playlist, click the title at the bottom. If you'd like to be alerted to new videos, please click my photo in the top right to subscribe to the channel.